Hi there. In this video, we'll take a look at the different activity types available in Guroo Academy. I've created a little section here called New Activities, where we're going to place all of our activities. Now, activities are the different types of learning that your learners can complete as part of the program. If you have a look at the New Activity tab, you'll see there's different learning objects, including content, tasks, questionnaires, and assessment. We'll focus on content in this video, and there are separate videos available to look at tasks, questionnaires, and assessments. Inside your section, you've got a few options for adding learning activities. You can create a new activity, you can move an existing activity, copy an activity, or create a content page. To copy an activity creates a duplicate of that activity in this location. This one is handy if you'd like to copy an activity you've already used in another course, whereas move activity doesn't duplicate the activity, it just moves it to this location. So be aware that if you're moving an activity, it won't exist in the previous location. Let's have a look at the new activities. So we've got a few different types of activities. First one being interactive e-learning modules built in Guroo Pro. Guroo Pro is our e-learning authoring platform where you can create interactive content to go into your academy programs. The next option is SCORM 1.2. If you haven't heard of SCORM before, this is an e-learning standard which you can publish from most of your e-learning authoring tools. It exports as a zip file and can be read by your learning management system, such as Academy. You can include videos, diagrams that learners can click on and zoom in on, documents for them to review or download, links to external resources, text objects, podcasts, and embedded web objects. Let's take a look at each of these. First, we'll take a look at interactive learning. To use this one, you'll need to have a Guroo Pro account and have connected your Guroo Pro and Academy accounts. As you can see here, I've got two different Guroo Pro accounts added. I've got my primary one and I've also got a secondary one. Connecting your Guroo Pro account is a one-off. You'll only need to connect your Guroo Pro account once. To select which module you'd like to include in your program, click Select Digital Module. I can then select from my teams, and the program I'm working on here is called Marketing Analytics. So I'm going to go to my Marketing Analytics program in Guroo Pro. And the module I'm going to upload is Getting Started in Marketing Analytics. Please look out for our separate videos on creating e-learning in Guroo Pro. Once we're in here, we've got a title which you can customize. It will default to the title that the module has in Guroo Pro. The type of experience is a digital experience. You can add in a short description, which I've got written over here. I'll pop in my little description. It also can be sometimes helpful to let your learners know roughly how long the learning activity will take. So I'll add in time required, and we'll say this one's 10 minutes. You can also change the icon. There will be an icon there already, but you can select from the stock icon options. You can include a thumbnail, or you can include a custom graphic. I'm going to use a thumbnail, and for modules, sometimes I like to include a little screen grab of the front screen. So I've got that saved here. You've also got your edit options if you need to crop or scale your thumbnail. And I'm going to save and close. And there's my thumbnail. Now, the settings at the bottom, you can select whether your module is required formative, which means it's not in the grade book and it doesn't contribute to part of the overall score for the program. You can make it optional formative, which is also not in gradebook, or you can make it summative, which means that the module results will be included in the program gradebook. If you'd like to know more about the gradebook, you can check out our other videos and help articles. I'm going to make this one required formative. You can define whether the activity has a score, in which case the learner will receive a score for completing the module. This is particularly useful if you've got knowledge checks throughout your module. You can choose to display the learner transcript on completion, which will show them each of the questions asked throughout the module and what they got right or wrong. And the last one is displaying class results on completion. The details down the bottom show where your experience is coming from inside Guroo Pro. So let's just save that. And it just takes a moment to publish. Just a note, as you add your learning activities, if you'd like to see how they work from the learner point of view, head over to the Learn tab. On the Learn tab, you'll see I've got my new activities section, and here's my module. I can click on that to see how it looks from a learner point of view. I like to have a click through everything I've uploaded just to make sure everything's working correctly and I haven't missed anything. Now let's head back to Edit and add some additional activities. All right, next up, let's add a SCORM package. A little bit of information about SCORM. SCORM packages can only report certain information back to the learning management system. They can tell you whether a learner was complete or incomplete for the module, and they can also give a score out of 100. I've got a module here called Managing Stress. This is a generic demo module, so sorry it doesn't relate to marketing analytics. In this case, I'll just keep the existing thumbnail. I've created a little bit of a description. I'm going to pop in that SCORM package. As I mentioned previously, the SCORM package will be a zip file. Please be sure not to unzip the zip file. It needs to be still zipped so that the LMS can read the files correctly. While we're waiting for this to upload, a couple of additional notes about SCORM packages. I personally would recommend not including any short response questions inside of a SCORM package. Reason being is that the LMS cannot collect the responses, so they kind of just go into the void. So my recommendation would be, if you're using SCORM packages, only use multiple choice questions or questions that can be scored by the module. This will mean that you can return a score, or you may want to keep your SCORM packages focused on the learning itself and conduct your assessment outside in Academy. Our completion requirements are the same as for Guroo Pro modules, whether it's required formative, optional formative, or whether we want to include it in gradebook. You can select whether the activity has a score and whether, if the learner fails, you'd like them to be able to reattempt. I'm going to save that. Depending on the size of your SCORM package, this may take a few minutes. And we can see that's added in there. I'm going to pop over to the learner view so you can see how this shows in Academy. Now, this sample SCORM package was developed in Articulate Rise, but most of your common e-learning software will allow you to export to SCORM. So here's how the module looks. They can watch the videos and advance through the learning. Let's have a look at the next activity type. This one's a video. We've got a few different options when it comes to uploading videos. You can include MP4 files, Vimeo links, or YouTube links. If you're uploading MP4 videos, please note that the maximum size for these videos is 50 megabytes. You can use an online video compressing tool to reduce your file size, but please note if you're compressing it too much, you will lose some of that quality. Next, we have Vimeo as an option. With Vimeo, you can add in the URL for the video, and then it will stream based on the learner's bandwidth. For example, if they're on a not so great Wi-Fi connection, it will stream at a slightly lower quality so that the learner can still see the video. I'd strongly recommend going with either Vimeo or YouTube. You will need an account, but you can create the videos as unlisted so they won't be found by people visiting your channel. As an example, I'm going to include a YouTube link. A note, as with any of the resources and activities that you upload, please make sure you have permission to share any files. This one is a video from HubSpot explaining how to use their analytics tools. I've created a little description. If you've got a transcript, you can also include this as well for accessibility. In the case of this video, because it's in YouTube, we've got closed captions, so that's there as an accessibility option. You may also wish to include a thumbnail. I personally like to include a still from the video when I use YouTube videos. So there's one, and then I'll save. That's how a video appears. From the learner point of view, it shows like this with the description, and when I click on the play button, it will open in the window, including the description below. Kind of like with the SCORM packages and e-learning modules, you may also want to include how long the video goes for, just so the learner knows what to expect. Heading back to Edit View, our next activity type is diagram. A diagram is usually explaining a key concept. The learner can click on the diagram to zoom around. I've got a diagram here that is a knowledge graph. I'm going to make it required. You can pop in a description if you like, but please make sure for accessibility purposes, you do include an alt tag. This is something that a screen reader will read out to the learner if they use that accessibility option, and it means that the image is explained to the learner. Little description here. Hot tip, AI is getting incredibly good at creating alt tags. Please make sure you read over them to make sure they're accurate, but this can be quite a helpful option. Let's see how this looks from the learner point of view. They just click into it. They can zoom in or make it as small as they need to. They can also download the image if that's helpful. If you scroll down, here's the description, and the alt tag will not be visible unless learners are using a screen reader, in which case the alt tag will be read out. The next activity type is document. There's a few different document types you can upload. You can include docs, docx, PowerPoint, Excel, PDF, zips, or CSVs. Check whether you'd like the document to be required or optional. And you can also decide whether you want the learner to be able to download the original document. I've got a document here that's a little worksheet. Campaign performance analysis worksheet. And once again, we'll head to Learner View to see how it looks. So you can see here, I've got my icon and the title and description. The learner would click into it. It opens in a little PDF reader, and they can also download the original document. Now, of course, you don't need to flick between edit and learner views all the time. You might want to upload a whole bunch of activities and then go and check how they look. I'm mainly doing it one by one so you can see each of the activities as we do them. All right, our next activity type is a link. This is where we can link to an external resource. For example, I've got a web page here that includes some marketing data analysis tips. I'm going to make this one required. As always, you can change your graphic or add a thumbnail if you like, and include a short description. Next, we can add text. There are a few different options for how you show your text. So let's just add in, this is a little did you know? And you can choose to have a graphic if that's helpful. Once again, you can do thumbnails or upload your own icons. I'm not going to use a graphic in this case. I'd like to display the title, and then you can select what style you would like to include. If you choose no style, it will just appear just as your normal text would, but you can add different callout styles as set up in your theme. So let's make this one callout style 1. I'll pop in another callout box that's a different color. This one has a little tip. So I might pop in a graphic like this one, the light bulb. And let's try callout style 3. And there we go. Let's have a look at these from the learner point of view. So we've got each of our activities. We've got our URL, which we popped in a moment ago. And then we've got a couple of call-out boxes. My tip when it comes to call-outs is don't use them for everything, because if everything is called out, then I guess it's very hard to highlight particular information. So use them sparingly so the page doesn't look overwhelming. You may like to use different types of call-outs for different information. For example, maybe if I decided that every time I was sharing a tip, I was going to use this dark style call-out, and I was going to use the light bulb, for example. Next, we've got the audio podcast option. You can either link to a podcast or you can upload a MP3 file. Pop in an MP3. You can include thumbnails if you like, add a description and a title. You may also wish to include a transcript for accessibility purposes. Here you'll see we've got the generic thumbnail. So if you'd like to include a different one, you can do so. This will show from the learner point of view inside a little player. There we go. And finally, our last activity type is an embedded web object. This can be handy if you've got an external resource that you would like learners to interact with. This can be as simple as just a web page, or it might be things like Padlet interactions, Miro boards, that sort of thing that you want participants to work on throughout the program. So I've created a Padlet for this course. I'm going to include the URL here and a description. You've got a couple of options in terms of completion. We can either mark the learner complete once they click on the item, or we can have the learner manually mark whether they've completed it or not. You can choose whether to display it in full screen or to restrict it to specific dimensions. I'll save that and then just show you how that will look from the learner point of view. There we go, it just appears as a link. And then when they click start, that Padlet will open up inside the window and they can collaborate just as they normally would. And that covers off each of our learning activity types. A couple of tips from me. Plan out your activities before you start popping them in. Where possible, add descriptions, add timings, add additional information that help the learners work through the different activities. I'd also recommend not having too many activities inside one section. You may wish to spread these out over a number of sections to make it more manageable and easier to flow for the learners. Thanks for watching.